circles and a dot. You're like batting it back and forth.
I played it.
Oh yeah, like me too, exactly. I
That's
played
all.
Exactly. It sort of dates you a little bit, but yeah, we both played the same game, and that was like, wow, that was a pretty fun game at the time. But now you can see a video game that's photorealistic, almost photorealistic, and millions of people playing simultaneously, and you see where things are going with virtual reality and augmented reality, and if you extrapolate that out into the future with any rate of progress at all, like even 0.1% or something like that a year, then eventually those games will be indistinguishable from reality. They'll be so realistic, you will not be able to tell the difference between that game and the reality as we know it. And then it seems like, well, how do we know that that didn't happen in the past? And that we're not in one of those games ourselves?
Interesting.
I mean, could be.
Everything is possible in life.
I mean, particularly like things seem to be accelerating to something.
Isn't it? I mean, if we look at our life, it seems in the past 100 years, life been accelerating quite fast.
Yeah.
In the past 20,
It's getting
faster.
Faster and faster.
Is it more slow? So my question is really, how life will be in Earth 20, 30, 50 years from now? Our education, our transport. How do you see it?
Well, I think this is one of those things that's quite difficult to predict.
Thank you. This is the largest global government summit. We have over 139 government here. If you want to advise government official to be ready for the future, what is three advice you'll give them?
Well, I think the first bit of advice would be to really pay close attention to the development of artificial intelligence. I think we need to just be very careful in how we adopt artificial intelligence, and to make sure that researchers don't get carried away. Because sometimes what happens is a scientist can get so engrossed in their work, they don't necessarily realize the ramifications of what they're doing. So I think it's important for public safety that governments keep a close eye on artificial intelligence and make sure that it does not represent a danger to the public. Let's see. Secondly, I would say we do need to think about transport in general, and there's the movement towards electric vehicles, sustainable transport. I think that's going to be good for many reasons, but again, not something that happens immediately. That'll happen slower than the self-driving vehicles. So that's probably something that happens over 30 or 40 years, the transition to electric vehicles. So thinking about that in context, the demand for electricity will increase dramatically. So currently, in terms of total energy usage in the world, it's about 1/3 electricity, about 1/3 transport, about 1/3 heating. So over time, that will transition to almost all, not all, but predominantly electricity, which means that the demand for electricity will probably triple.
That might mean more nuclear.
So it's going to be very important to think about how do you make so much more electricity.
Reactors and stuff, which explosions.
Seem they have an easy job. That's it. There's no more challenges for them.
No, well, then I think maybe these things do play into each other a little bit. But what to do about mass unemployment? This is going to be a massive social challenge.
Mark of the beast.
And I think ultimately we will have to have some kind of universal basic income. I don't think we're going to have a choice.
Universal basic income.
Universal basic income. I think it's going to be necessary.
So it means that unemployed people will be paid across the globe.
Yeah.
Because there is no job, machine, robot is taking over.
There will be fewer and fewer jobs that a robot cannot do better.
Okay.
That's simply and I want to be clear that these are not things that I think that I wish would happen. These are simply things that I think probably will happen.
Oh. He knows
And
something.
if my assessment is correct and they probably will happen, then we need to say, what are we going to do about it?
Mark
And I
of the
think
beast.
some kind of a universal basic income is going to be necessary.
Who's gonna turn that down? Free money. You just live.
Now, the output of goods and services will be extremely high. So with automation, there will come abundance. There will be almost everything will get very cheap. I think the biggest. I think we'll just end up doing universal basic income. It's going to be necessary.
I think everything.
The harder challenge, much harder challenge, is how do people then have meaning? Like a lot of people, they derive their meaning from their employment.
Oh, the virtual reality.
You don't have.
You know?
If you're not needed, if there's not
delusion,
a need for your labor, how do you?
Entertainment. Everybody's gonna
What's
be.
the meaning? Do you have meaning? Do you feel
into
useless? That's a much harder problem to deal with.
Alternate, universal, virtual.
And then how do we ensure that the future is going to be the future that we want, that we still like? No, I mean, I do think that there's a potential path here, which is, and we're really getting into science fiction or sort of advanced science stuff, but having some sort of merger with biological intelligence and machine intelligence.
Oh, Mark of the Beast stuff again.
To some degree, we are already a cyborg. You think of like the digital tools that you have, your phone, your computer, the applications that you have, like the fact that, as I was mentioning earlier, you can ask a question and instantly get an answer from Google or from other things, and so you already have a digital tertiary layer. I say tertiary because you can think of the limbic system, kind of the animal brain or the primal brain, and then the cortex, kind of the thinking, planning part of the brain, and then your digital self as a third layer.
The lawless one. Look, he said they got
so you already have that, and if somebody dies, the digital ghost is still around.
Hold on.
All of their email.
I apologize. I forgot to do that. This might be straight up the lawless one, the anti-Mashiach, who just all lawless. He ain't for Torah nothing. He's just stuck on science fiction, but it would be that deceptive. He seems so innocent because he's not biased. He's not really making a decision where he stands on his beliefs. He's just so we feel like we can dismiss him because for the lack of knowledge, I guess, or oh, poor guy, he just doesn't know better. His ignorance, right? We're gonna look over the ignorance of having any kind of doctrinal beliefs, and he's just trying to do good for the world through technology. And look, he's got the largest world summit right now going on at ancient Babylon. They're at Dubai and stuff, where that hotel and all that stuff there is erected as a memorial to the Tower of Babel. So there you go, Babylon the Great. And so there you have it. Something's being pieced together here, and this all he seems to be spokesman for bringing into the world the new age, the technology, the AI, and the artificial intelligence, but the merging of man with that through maybe Mark of the Beast system, the chip that implants technology in you. So you're like what he's talking about, being half cyborg, being half in a virtual reality, because machines will do everything for us. So how do we find the meaning in life? We just live our own little virtual fantasy life through the Mark of the Beast, so everybody's can live this Matrix type world, that's fake but so real that you feel everything, so you get all your heart's desires through it, so you sell your soul for it basically. So that's why, because you would have to denounce the ways of Yah and this earth and life, your soul, just to have that reality. So.
And the pictures that they posted and the social media, that still lives, even if they physically, if they died. So over time, I think we'll probably see a closer merger of biological intelligence and digital intelligence. And it's mostly about the bandwidth, the speed of the connection between your brain and your the digital extension of yourself. Particularly output, and output, if anything, is getting worse. We used to have like keyboards that we'd use a lot. Now we do most of our input through our thumbs on a phone, and that's just very slow. A computer can communicate at 1 trillion bits per second, but your thumb can maybe do, 10 bits per second or 100 if you're being generous. So some high bandwidth interface to the brain, I think, will be something that helps achieve a symbiosis between human and machine intelligence, and maybe solves the control problem and the usefulness problem. Getting pretty esoteric here. I don't know if this is...
It's close.
Okay.
We got it.
That's pretty scary stuff.
Always you think out of the box. Your idea is so huge. You want to go to space. You decided to go to space. You did it. You decided that you want to land your rocket back. You failed 7 times, 8 times.
Yeah, something like that.
Then it landed
more times than I care to count.
Yeah. How do you come with this idea, actually? Sometimes they're pushing the human limit. You are always pushing the human limit. Why?
Well, I think about what technology solution is necessary in order to achieve the particular goal, and then try to make as much progress in that direction as possible. So in the case of spaceflight, the critical breakthrough that's necessary in spaceflight is rapid and complete reusability of rockets, just as we have for aircraft. You can imagine that if an aircraft was single use, almost no one would fly. Because you can buy, like, say, a 747 might be $250 million, $300 million, or something like that. You need 2 of them for a round trip. But nobody's going to pay millions of dollars per ticket to fly, to do air travel. But because you can reuse the aircraft tens of thousands of times, the air travel becomes much more affordable.